Welcome back to Grid Drop. Today, we're going to help you get faster around one of F1's best tracks, COTA. If you enjoy this video, feel free to leave any feedback or questions in the comment section, or on my Discord, which is linked in the description. That being said, let's get right into it. This video will be broken down into 5 sections: car setup, Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, and finally a full lap. These sections are all equally important, so stay tuned to the end of the video if you really want to improve. Here's the setup I run in Texas. Feel free to pause the video and screenshot this if you want to try out this setup on your own. This setup prioritizes downforce through the S's and at the end of Sector 2 while still having a decent straight line speed. As a disclaimer, this setup is a general baseline for you to start with, and it applies to both hot laps and a race. I recommend doing a few laps with this setup and tweaking it to fit your own style. Turn 1 at COTA is incredibly unique. Into the uphill braking zone, it's difficult to spot the meter boards, so you want to look out for this electronic flag indicator right here, and you should be braking right at this point. The uphill nature of this corner means that your car will slow down faster, but it's still important to be very heavy on the brakes here. Once you've downshifted 3 to 4 times, that's when you should turn into the corner. It's important to maintain a smooth but harsh increase on your steering angle, as this corner can be a little bit sneaky as to how hard of a left-hander it is. You should try to hit the apex here, as it gives you a wider exit and a better run into the next corners. When exiting, use a bit of the curb but be careful with the throttle. When your wheels are on the curb, there's a higher chance of losing grip when accelerating. Once you've got the power down, gravitate towards the middle of the track. You want to take some curb into this right-hander in order to have the best setup for the upcoming S's. When taking this first corner in the S's, you want to be on the curb. Aim both of your left wheels to go beyond the red and white curb and onto the solid red section. Into the next corner, do the same thing. Stay flat out and aim your right wheels to go beyond the curb. The next left is a little bit trickier, but not too hard. Depending on your setup, you might have to lift a little more, or you can take it completely flat out. For this setup, you need a very slight lift of the throttle. You can stay around 80 to 90% through this corner. Into the next corner, your line is super important. You want to take the same amount of curb on the right, but it's going to turn into a double apex. Once you hit this curb, a very slight tap of the brakes will do here. As soon as you tap on the brakes, go back to about 70% throttle. Your car maintains grip through here, so you can trust the traction more than you think. Once accelerating again, aim for the curb on the right. This is the double apex. You should hit this curb right about where the sign begins on the right. Stay flat through here and prepare for the left-hander. That's a run through of Sector 1, now let's see it at full speed. Once through the S's, stick to the right side of the track. There isn't really a turning in point here, but a few practice laps and you'll feel where to turn. Once turning in, you'll want another slight tap of the brakes. This time, stay off the throttle just a little bit longer. Now, get back to around 60% throttle right away and slowly increase until you're flat out. Pretty much as soon as you're going full throttle, brake. This time, you're going to want to hit the brakes much harder. You want to brake around 70% input into the next corner and turn in immediately. You want to take curb on the right here, and again, extend the right side of your car past the red and white curb. Into the next corner now, be very diligent with the throttle, as it's easy to have some rear slip. For this next left, you don't need to brake, and you want to take some of the curb on the left. Personally, I recommend sticking to only the red and white curb, as this little orange bump can cause you a lot of issues with stability on your exit. Again, be careful on the throttle here and slowly increase up to full speed. Now, once flat out, you should be naturally gravitating towards the right curb. This braking zone is quite simple. You want to brake at about 75 meters. Into this corner, brake hard and trail brake, or in other words, jam the brake as hard as you can and then slowly bleed off the pressure. Once braking, turn in just after the 50 meter board on the right. Again, this angle is a bit harsher than you think, so try to hit the apex and have a pretty hard lock to the left in your steering angle. Use the curb on the exit, but be careful because it can loosen your rear end and cause some wheel spin. Now, onto the straight and it's full throttle with a DRS zone. So that's a breakdown of Sector 2, let's see it at full speed. Coming up to the end of the straight, you want to brake at around 125 meters, just between the 150 and the 100 meter boards. Once braking, you should be turning in just after you pass the 50 meter board. Again, this angle is pretty sharp, but the track widens out on exit. Aim for the apex of the corner here and let your car naturally widen to the right side of the track. Once on exit, use the curb on the right hand side, and now slowly pull the car to the left. This corner is tricky and there are 3 ways of knowing where to brake and turn in. The first is just by feel. After doing some practice laps, you should have the general knowledge of a manageable way through the corner. The next is by looking at where this green curb begins on the left and aiming to brake around 3/4 of the way through it. And the last is by braking as soon as you make contact with the curb. The last one is the most efficient, but only if you know the exact line after exiting the last corner. Once at the braking point, you want a heavy brake input, probably around 60%. Stick close to the right-hand curb here and try to position your right wheels to the red and white section. Once going through the corner, stay off the throttle until you're facing the left curbs. Once there, slowly increase again, but do it cautiously. Once widening out towards the left side of the track, keep your steering angle consistent and you'll naturally be positioned for the next corner. You want to brake just before this curb sticks out on the left-hand side, and you want about 60% brake pressure. Once widened out to the right side of the track, increase your steering angle and aim to hit the curb on the left-hand side. This angle is also sharper than you think, so make sure to keep focused on the track. On exit, use the exit curb a bit, but be careful on the throttle, as it's pretty easy to spin here. Once increasing to full throttle, sway to the left-hand side of the track and get close to the left curb, as the line through these double rights is important. Once to the left, turn in pretty much immediately. These corners are pretty easy, just stay completely flat out and hit both the apexes. Once facing the next corner, naturally widen out and keep your steering angle the same until you reach the right side of the track. When at the corner, look for the electronic flag sign on the right, as this is your braking point. When braking here, give it about 70% brake input and a couple downshifts, but stay on the throttle. Obviously dip your throttle input way down, but you do have space and runoff with the exit curbs, so maintaining grip through this fast left-hander is important. Once exiting, use the curb on your right. Finally, approaching the last corner of the lap, look for the pit lane entry on the left. You should be braking about 10 meters before that white line. For this corner, it's recommended you take some of the red and white curb on the left, as it's flat and it won't spin you out. Stay cautious on the throttle, but you can generally be pretty aggressive here. When exiting, use the curb on the right and get ready for the DRS zone. That's a look at Sector 3, now let's see it at full speed. Now let's take a look at a full lap. So there you have it, a full lap of COTA broken down corner by corner and sector by sector. If you have any questions or need more tips, feel free to leave a comment on this video or in my Discord. Also, let me know if you want to see more track guides, and if so, which ones do you want to see? So if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.